buried down in these tunnels. And this one's almost translucent here. This is a beautiful piece. You have the flashlight?
Yeah. Oh, good idea. Ready?
Well, so stick it on the other side. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, cool.
Gorgeous.
Just buried out here underneath the sand. Pieces like this. Do that again. That was cool. Put it in the shade here.
Okay.
Up, tilt it up. There we go. Okay.
Can you imagine a whole structure made of calcite?
So this is the same type of crystalline material that's used in the western section of the Pyramid of Wunis, the inner reaction chamber. And it's all just been buried out here. All of the material that they found in the tunnels below the structure was all removed and buried underneath.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the land of Chem. I'm your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Now, today we return to Saqqara to investigate the chemical process units that were integrated into the industrial methane manufacturing and extraction operation that was once occurring within the Step Pyramid complex. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, welcome back. And we're here in Saqqara today to investigate a few areas of the Step Pyramid complex that we didn't get a chance to see on our last expedition to the site. And I'm going to introduce a topic that'll be coming up in, I think, maybe next week's research episode. Mashai, shukran. Regarding chemical manufacturing process units. And the term process units is indicative of all of the individual components that are integrated into the manufacturing process flow. So, for example, pumps, valves, reactors, extraction shafts, etc. All of the individual pieces that are utilized within any particular chemical manufacturing sequence. So here in Saqqara, we've discussed the agricultural material storage silo that is located on the west side of the Step Pyramid complex. It is a huge this structure here, and it runs further, and we're going to go around and see it from the other side today. A huge storage silo that is documented to have housed agricultural material. And today we're going to explore this area on the eastern side of the complex, because I don't think I've actually shown this.
No, I've never seen it.
In any previous episodes. Oh, here, I actually showed this image in a recent members only episode regarding the function of the Jed pillar. An exceptional research episode. If you're interested in helping to support the channel and also getting access to some exclusive research content, check that out. These Jed pillar icons. I've actually never been in this particular area. And I showed a picture of this, but I didn't know where those Jed pillars came from. Sorry, that sun is blasting me in the eyes here. pretty interesting acoustics in this area. You can see this paneling here, which we've seen in a number of different structures that have this sort of wave-like, well, I was going to call it acoustic paneling for lack of a better term, but that seems to be fairly appropriate. This looks to be restoration, but we have seen that same type of very functional looking again, the word paneling seems to be the most appropriate. So who knows exactly what this area of the structure was. And we're going to walk around here. So the conventional nomenclature used to describe this series of structures in this area of the complex, and you can see this giant structure right here in front of me, and we'll walk around the other side so you can see it. And there's a grouping of these structures, and they call these things, quote, dummy chapels. And there was originally a series of them here. A lot of this is modern restoration work. Again, this one with the same paneling here on the top. Looks like there's a restored hinge here. Again, this is all restoration work in through here. They call these things dummy chapels, which, in my opinion, only dummies would believe that these are dummy chapels. I think these things were originally storage silos, and that there is an interior chamber inside of these things. Again, all of this is restoration work. But the term dummy chapel doesn't make any sense to me. And all this is restoration in here. The vast majority of stuff out in this area, and then also the entrance area is all, it's 100% modern restoration. So this is just kind of their opinion of what they think it used to look like. And we'll go in here so you can see the, but you could imagine that these stone chambers here perhaps once surrounded a storage tank component, like we've discussed regarding the southern tomb. There was a copper tank. Oh, I just had an interesting idea. There was a copper tank inside of the red granite container with the plug that we showed the last time we were in Saqqara. You know, what if this was like a fill station where the guy could come up in here and you tap a valve and it allowed the dispensing of methane gas from one of these little outlets.
This looks like a beer tap. I like that idea.
Or even a little alcove for a sacred flame, like you have on your Is this a roach?
It's a perfect spot.
You can't hide anything from me. That's definitely, well, it's most likely it's a bag, but it looks like a roach. But like you have on a modern water heater, you have the little flame. Again, I could imagine a valve here or a tap mechanism that you could fill a container in here. Yeah, so they call these things dummy chapels. So again, chemical manufacturing process units. All of these sites and all of these structures have all of the components that are indicative of process units. In my opinion, none of this is indicative of burial, because we'll be referencing this in regard to the Red Pyramid coming up in next week's episode. Nothing about the interior components of that structure are indicative of pharaonic burial. Everything about the structure is indicative of chemical manufacturing process units. The individual components that, when integrated together, create a chemical synthesis sequence. Again, yeah, all this is restoration, and they obviously use this as a hammam. Hammam is Arabic for restroom. So here, again, we have the storage silo on the west side of the complex. You have the bedrock methane extraction facility or biogas fermentation. And then on this side of the complex, storage. And another thing worth mentioning, you know, there was this paper that recently came out about the step pyramid using a hydraulic mechanism to lift. I hate to say it, but that is absolute nonsense. That paper usurped many of my original ideas that were proposed over 2 years ago regarding the Giza El Mudir water purification facility, the function of the dry moat, the inlet shafts into the subterranean tunnel system. All of that are original ideas that were first proposed here on the land of Chem, that these authors integrated into their research paper regarding the construction of the step pyramid, which, as you can see here, step pyramid's made of small blocks. That there is no need whatsoever for some complicated hydraulic lift mechanism, which the working mechanisms of that proposal just, it all kind of falls apart when you get to the inside of it. Especially their proposition on the function of the container, because they also completely ignore the archaeological fact that the southern tomb container had a copper tank inside of it, which basically completely falsifies their proposal about the function of these things. But you don't need a hydraulic lift mechanism to lift tiny little blocks like this. Nor have we seen any similar mechanism in any other pyramid structure. So if that was the way that they were doing it, why didn't they utilize that in every other pyramid that came around later? So they utilized a number of the mechanisms of operation that I have proposed regarding the function of the structure, and they have, again, I don't want to say stolen, but certainly utilized them in their proposal for the construction of the step pyramid. And I wanted to show the northern court because I very seldom show this area where they've actually buried. Okay, so the tunnels below the step pyramid, there are kilometers of tunnels below the step pyramid. There are reported to be 5 or 6 different levels of these subterranean tunnels. And they've excavated tons of calcite material, so calcite crystal artifacts, most of them completely smashed to pieces. And they buried it out here in the northern court. So below all of this sand here is tons, literally tons. I've heard the estimate of 10 tons of calcite material that was removed from the subterranean tunnels and buried out here in the northern court. And I've been with our friend Ragab, who's one of the lead archaeologists on site. So this is the primary opening, the main opening down into the step pyramid. Walk around here. The steps are a modern addition, not original to the structure. And let me step over on this side so that I don't, it'd be a bummer if I fell down in this thing. And you can see how highly eroded that circular opening is that leads down into the structure. So this is the original inlet down into the step pyramid primary chamber, not the one that we went in last time. So now I want to walk around here so I can show you the opening into the storage silo area, and we might be able to see if there's some fragments of calcite. Man, I've walked around here with Osireion and Ragab on a number of occasions. That's a piece right there, actually, of calcite that's buried in the ground there. But I guarantee you, if we walk around this area, I'll be able to show you fragments of the calcite material. And Ragab has said that they've found all sorts of interesting stuff. All right, so this is a strange little area here. Interesting. Again, it just drives me crazy sometimes that these components that are really fascinating to me are just unexcavated and ignored. And you know, if they didn't find treasure in it, it's basically abandoned and forgotten. So now, again, if I just walk around here for 2 minutes, I guarantee you I'll spot a piece of calcite. All right, everyone, I hope you're enjoying the video. And if you are interested in the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world, please remember to subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube so you don't miss out on the new episodes that premiere twice per week. If you want to help support the channel, check out thelandofchem.com. You can pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch, link in the video description below. And if you want to get access to exclusive research videos, check out the Land of Chem members only channel, now up to 22 absolutely massive research episodes that also feature some unreleased expedition footage. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. Now, back to the video. What?
Have you been all around the step pyramid before?
Yeah. So this, she's asking if we've been around. We could actually walk back out this way. Yeah, I was just going to say, all of these.
Oh my God.
So it took all of 2 seconds to find this. So this is a fragment of white calcite crystal. Beautiful crystalline material. Again, tons. Again, I was told 10 tons of destroyed artifacts. So this isn't just a simple piece of calcite. This was actually an artifact of some sort. I've been told that there were various containers and all sorts of mysterious artifacts buried down in these tunnels. And this one's almost translucent here. This is a beautiful piece. You have the flashlight?
Yeah. Oh, good idea. Ready?
Well, so stick it on the other side. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, cool.
Gorgeous.
Just buried out here underneath the sand. Pieces like this. Do that again. That was cool. Here, put it in the shade here.
Okay.
Up, tilt it up. There we go. Okay.
Can you imagine a whole structure made of calcite?
So this is the same type of crystalline material that's used in the western section of the Pyramid of Wunis, the inner reaction chamber. And it's all just been buried out here. All of the material that they found in the tunnels below the structure was all removed and buried underneath. And who knows what's out here in all these mounds. And I've been here with Yusuf, and we found pieces of that same material that had tubular drill cuts and precise right edges. And you can just, they're all over the place, these fragments. Tragic. All right, so here is the opening into the storage silos. And my hypothesis is that once the bedrock natural gas deposit below the step pyramid was depleted, the structure was later converted into an anaerobic digester for the manufacture of the same methane gas using a different process. So instead of, again, in the last episode, well, it was a members only episode recently, episode 23, I discussed the natural resource exploitation of bedrock gas deposits that are located directly on the Giza plateau that were integrated into the chemical manufacturing process within the Great Pyramid. Again, all of these structures were strategically placed on locations that had the abundant natural resources that would be required for these chemical manufacturing operations. So once the bedrock extraction methodology was no longer viable, i.e., the bedrock deposit of natural gas fully depleted, they converted this into a biogas digester utilizing agricultural material and cattle manure that provided the bacterial catalyst for the anaerobic digestion process that produced methane gas. So these storage silos are huge agricultural material storage components. Again, going back to the terminology of chemical manufacturing. Sorry, the GoPro keeps cutting off. It is blazing hot out here. So again, chemical manufacturing process units. We have raw material storage, chemical manufacturing and extraction, and product storage. The 40-acre complex here in Saqqara is a massive industrial scale chemical manufacturing facility with all of the required process units to execute that system. We have the reservoir surrounding the structure that provides water for the operation. We have storage silos that house the raw materials. Again, once the bedrock deposit was depleted, they integrated the agricultural surplus material for the methane manufacturing process. And then once that gas production or extraction process was complete, the gas could then be pumped into the adjacent storage silos. They're just about to close out here and our driver's waiting. But we'll walk around here on this side. Again, every time I come out here on the northern side, I feel like I'm just walking over treasure, which it's actually quite literal. But this is a side of the step pyramid that most people don't ever show because they don't usually let people go back here. The western side of the complex. Again, you can see this very small size of the stones that were used in the construction of the step pyramid. Again, it just looks like a mound of nothing, but this is a huge underground structure. There is a long passageway that runs down the core of this thing with transverse storage chambers on each side of the... So north to south is the long hallway, and then they have transverse chambers running east to west. So the step pyramid complex is again equipped with all of the process units that were required for the chemical manufacturing operation for the production of methane. And then just like we have today, let me go walk up here and see if I can get a look at the core of this structure real quick. So just like we have today, in any manufacturing facility that produces chemicals, there's also ancillary manufacturing facilities. So we have the Pyramid of Wunis creating methanol, the Pyramid of Userkaf, which I have some work in progress hypotheses, and you can just see the collapsed area here of this structure, which is why they have it closed off, because the whole thing is caving in on the inside. Again, I have a work in progress hypothesis about the Pyramid of Userkaf that I'm not quite ready to release publicly yet. I've talked about the serapium being involved in the production of hydrogen, using ultrasound to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. So again, these sites have all of the same components in any industrial scale manufacturing facility that we would have today. And then there in the distance, the red and bent pyramids of Dashur, where the methane was further transformed into ammonia-based products, nitrogenous fertilizers. And it looks like they're building a new, you know, kind of the same way they did in Giza, a new tourist access entry area, probably a gift shop, a little, you know, what have you. I will say the Imhotep Museum here in Saqqara is a nice little museum. If you want to see some real nonsense, go look at their depiction of the creation of the stone vases, which they show a guy with this little stick with a flint chip at the bottom of it, which is clearly not how it was done. And I don't think I've ever, so we'll walk out this way through the complex entrance. What you running for? All right, I'm glad I was able to find a, again, I knew that if you take 2 steps out there in the northern court, tons of material, and unfortunately we'll never know what those artifacts were. And this area that we're about to walk through is conventionally referred to as the entrance to the complex. It's pretty cool, but again, it's all restoration. Here's again a diagram of the expansion of the step pyramid. Originally it was a mastaba. The platform was expanded. Here you can see the series of vertical shafts that I've discussed in episode 125. And then when the structure was enlarged and the actual first true pyramid was created, the 11 shafts were covered up. Again, those 11 shafts being part of the original bedrock extraction process. And once that mechanism was no longer necessary, it was closed over when they created the first true pyramid. There she go. All right. Well, I'll show you here at the entrance that this complex was a guarded facility. It was not just like any Joe Schmo off the street could just waltz in here. As with all of these structures and facilities, they were heavily secured and guarded. And you can see here, so this massive slab here, this piece, this is the door. It's a replica of what was the door. So you can see the hinge here and the hinge here. So this huge piece, again, this is a replica made of smaller blocks, but this whole thing would have closed over the opening and there would have been 2 of them. A huge security door on the outside of the complex where this is a hinge, this is a hinge, and again, they've remade this door here. So this whole massive piece, whether it was stone or metal or wood, would have been a security door that closed over the face of the opening here. Again, same way we do today, where you can't just walk into a chemical manufacturing facility and gain access to the secure areas. All right, so that's it for today. I think Sunday site visit 105. Whew. Man, it's hot. All right. See you next time. All right, everyone. That is it for today's video. This was Sunday site visit 105 from the Step Pyramid Complex. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. And in the next episode in the series, the Egyptian Pyramid Chemical Engineering Technology, Part 5, the Red Pyramid, External Reservoir and Northern Pump Shaft. This is an episode you do not want to miss. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. And remember to click that little notification bell so you don't miss out on the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned. If you want to help support the channel and get access to exclusive research content, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com. If you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch, links in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our 3 other channels, Ancient Odysseys, Let's Go with Lexingee, and the best channel on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats. For all you cat lovers out there, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode. I will see you. Next time. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.